Welcome back, everyone. Here I'm just adding a third little piece to the stigma. Yes, I looked it up. I'm not that clever. And of course they're just highlighting the stamen and just adding a little highlight actually under the anther. Gosh, it's a long time since I even said those words. That'll be school days. Okay. Just adding some highlights, as I say, with a very, very small diamond burr. Now here I have got a very ghastly test glass, and I have just checked out how this burr engraves. Now this is a cone-shaped burr. It's slightly flared outwards, and as you can see, it's got a really sharp effect. Running it along sideways, it creates that lovely sharp line because there's a very thin edge to it. You've got to be a little bit careful because sometimes if you're a little bit aggressive, especially working dry, your glass will not like this burr. So you've got to be gentle. This is actually the second glass, and I'm just doing exactly the same as what I did to the first glass in my little factory run, as it were. Because when you start doing the little fiddly bits, you can get easily lost. And so again, I'm trying to keep them all roughly the same. So I'm probably changing them a little bit more rapidly, changing over to repeat each glass, the same process, so that I don't lose track of what I'm doing. And there you go. You can see me adding to the stigma. In fact, I didn't. You can see there I missed out the third one, but I do go back. There we go. I've gone back, fixed the third one. And this, of course, being the third glass. I don't at this point even look at the other glasses. I basically know what I'm doing. You know, as long as I'm highlighting certain bits, adding in this middle bit, you know, without looking at the previous glass. There we go. Here we go with the fourth glass. I don't actually look back. I know the process that I have to do, but I don't make sure that every tiny little line is in the same place. There might be gaps on one and not on the other. It's roughly the same. So unless you put them next to each other and absolutely scrutinize every millimeter, you're not really going to know the difference. And it's better that way. They are like little mini paintings. So, right, that's 4 of them done. Now I have got a rubber. This is a soft grey rubber, or any softer rubber that you can put your hands on. And you can see I'm not this rapidly. Obviously, I've sped up the film, but I've gone over roughly the top area, which is darker. And now I have got a very hard rubber disc, which is, as you can see quite clearly, is making the areas even darker and sort of flying over the ridges and picking up the edges and making some lovely contrasts. It's got a funny shape because it's rather worn down, and I've flipped the disc over the other way. Okay, and obviously onto the next glass, doing the same process at super high speed. This particular rubber is actually not my usual one, and it's quite dusty. It comes off, wears out very fast. So as you can see, it was worn out right down, and to get some more out of it, I have flipped that one over. And you can see we've got a little bit more rubber left. So this is not sure, the second or the third glass now. And same process again. As I did with the previous process or set of processes, I am not looking at each glass. I'm just taking each glass as it comes. So I'm not comparing it, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not comparing it with the ones that I've just done. I know basically what I've got to do, but they will not be the same. Now the flame lily has got a lovely darker sort of a flame effect, and it has various shades of red and then the yellow. So but there are many different versions. They're all different, so you can play around with it a little bit. And this obviously is the next one. I think this is the fourth glass now. That darker bit in the middle is not where it's folded, by the way. That is actually the variegation on the petal. That's the colour of the petal on this particular one. So I'm into the next process now, and I'm just doubling up on some highlights with a little diamond. Just down mainly the stamen on the front. And that little anther needed a bit of touching up. There are actually 5 petals and 5 of the anthers. Anthers and stamen, and only 1 stigma. So now I have got that, or a slightly different cone shape, I think, but this one is a cone shape. So it's got a sharper edge, and there you can see I am picking up the edges of the frilly petals. And you can see obviously there's a couple of petals behind. As I mentioned earlier, be very careful with this kind of burr, especially working dry. And if it is not a fresh burr, that can be a little bit problematic. You could upset the glass, so be very careful with it. Make sure it's a good new one, or use water. This gives it a very delicate edge. Funny, normally I say don't outline things, but these do have quite often very highlighted little edges to them, and so it actually makes them, I think, look quite frilly. Just touching up where I can see the stamen are a little bit wobbly in places. And I left this bit in, actually, because obviously you turn the glass around to get comfortable, and do you think I could get comfortable? No ways. It just was not going to happen, because I wanted to use the underside of this burr just to neaten the bottom edge here. I didn't want to use the top of the burr, and to do that I had to turn it around, but I just couldn't get my wrist inside that area, and it just wasn't going to happen. Okay, so I've got some water now. Well, I had some water. Yes, I've still got some water and a bit of diamond, and I'm just adding some depths to the bit sticking out the bottom. Let me look that one up. Well, how about that? Just looked it up, and it is an ovary. Would you believe? An ovary with the style that was coming out from it, where the stigma, those three little pokey bits sticking out the end of the style. Well, we've learnt a lot. Well, I've learnt a lot today. Okay, obviously sign your work, and those are looking pretty neat. This is another way if you want to do two rapidly, sort of working from one to the other, back and forth and back and forth. Make sure you've got a bit of sponge between them. Now, I should have put, in fact, a bit of sponge between the bases as well. You really don't want them to be touching. But this is purely for a quick alternative for you to see. I don't normally work like this. In fact, I don't normally do pairs of anything, to be honest. But obviously, in this case, as you've seen, I have done them quite separately. But this is just an option. Now, these glasses are actually beautiful crystal, but they obviously made in massive bulk. They come from India. And I've noticed on two of these glasses, they've got a rough bit at the bottom. I think had they been English glasses, they most certainly would have been seconds or discarded. But, you know, they are so beautiful, and I could feel it with my fingers. There's a song in that. And so all you have to do really is get a good strong rubber. Here's that black disc again. And just keep gently working on it and feeling it with your finger. And you'll soon realize that you've smoothed it out and it's disappeared. Well, not quite disappeared. It is there if you look under a microscope, but it was a little bit rough. Now here I have got a very smooth rubber, and all this is going to do is take off the hue, the dull hue that the rough, hard rubber would have left behind. And it just takes it a little bit back, though it doesn't look like it there. Oh no, this is another glass, okay? This is another glass. You can see quite clearly how bad that one was. So it requires the same treatment. But I've got to tell you, you know, for glasses that are obviously made very rapidly, they're very pretty, they're very heavy, they're absolutely beautiful to engrave. They are such lovely crystal. And so it would have been really sad to just throw these away or return them, quite frankly, when I'm perfectly capable of neatening them up and giving them a good life. There's that smooth rubber again. I did spend a little bit more time off camera with these glasses, just fixing them a little bit more. But you get the general idea. Now here's another one which I felt actually by chance. They had obviously cut really quickly and rather deeply into the middle of the base, and there was a sharp pokey bit, so that required some polishing back, because this hard rubber will actually remove some glass and at the same time smooth it out. So be very careful with it because it can overheat. Just gently. That was actually really quite sharp. But by the time I finished faffing about with it, it was perfectly fixed and not going to be cutting anybody. Another glass saved. It's important to get rid of the little hue just in case that stands out. I mean, obviously it's hidden on the bottom here, but sometimes when you look from above you might be able to see a little bit of hue peeping through, and you don't want that. Okay, so there you go, 4 lovely glasses. There are actually 2 pairs for 2 different couples. Dear, dear friends of mine from Zimbabwe. Flame lily, national flower of Zimbabwe. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Bye for now.